What if I told you that a single coat could change the course of a presidency? On a bitterly cold night in Washington, D.C., Melania Trump faced a moment that would test her character and rewrite her public image in ways no one could have predicted. Born in Slovenia, Melania's journey to the White House was extraordinary. As she stepped into the frigid air that evening, memories of her own struggles flickered through her mind. With over 6,500 people homeless in D.C. on any given night, Melania's next actions would captivate the nation. This story will challenge your perceptions, tug at your heartstrings, and inspire you to see the world anew. The winter night in Washington, D.C. was a study in contrast. Inside the opulent ballroom of the Willard Intercontinental Hotel, the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfumes and soft murmurs of conversation. Outside, the wind howled, carrying the bitter chill of a harsh January. Melania Trump stood near the entrance, her elegant figure a beacon of poise. Her emerald green gown, a masterpiece of silk and intricate beadwork, caught the light, creating the illusion of rippling water. Her hair was swept up in a classic chignon, revealing sparkling diamond earrings. As the event concluded, the atmosphere shifted. Relaxed laughter gave way to purposeful energy. Secret Service agents materialized, eyes scanning, hands near concealed weapons. A distinguished gentleman approached Melania. "Mrs. Trump, your speech was truly inspiring," he said warmly. Melania's lips curved into a gracious smile, her voice soft yet steady. "Thank you. It's a cause close to my heart." As he moved away, Melania's smile faltered slightly. A young aide appeared with her luxurious white cashmere wrap. "Mrs. Trump, your car is ready," the aide said, helping her into the coat. The hotel's doors opened and frigid air rushed in, causing guests to gasp. Melania's gaze was drawn to the street beyond, where the harsh reality of winter stood in stark contrast to the warmth inside. The sidewalk was mostly deserted, save for a few hurrying figures. Street lamps cast pools of yellow light in the darkness. Distant sirens wailed, a reminder of the city's constant alertness. Melania's security team moved with precision, forming a protective circle as they guided her to the waiting motorcade. The lead agent spoke quietly into his wrist mic, confirming their movements. As she approached the car, Melania's hand reached for the door handle. But something made her pause. A movement in the shadows across the street caught her eye, causing her to hesitate. Time seemed to stand still. The security detail tensed, hands moving towards their weapons. The soft murmur of departing guests faded, leaving only the sound of wind and distant traffic. Melania squinted, trying to make out what had caught her attention. As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, the true nature of what she saw became clear. As Melania's eyes adjusted to the darkness, a hunched figure emerged from the shadows. Against the cold brick wall sat a man, his thin frame barely visible beneath tattered layers. The contrast between the opulent event she just left and this harsh reality was jarring. The man's weathered face bore the marks of street life. His sunken eyes stared blankly ahead, seemingly unaware of his surroundings. A threadbare blanket offered little protection from the biting cold. Melania felt a sudden tug at her heart. Her public persona faded, replaced by a surge of empathy. She was transported back to her childhood in Slovenia, remembering times when her family struggled. That long-forgotten uncertainty resonated deeply with the scene before her. Her security detail tensed. "Ma'am," an agent murmured, "we need to keep moving." But Melania remained rooted in place, her gaze fixed on the homeless man. The reality of DC homelessness was stark. Over 6,500 individuals faced nightly challenges: exposure, lack of health care, and constant struggle for food and safety. Melania felt the weight of her position as First Lady. Her Be Best initiative echoed in her mind, a call to kindness that now seemed to demand action. Yet she was aware of potential headlines twisting a moment of concern into political fodder. The homeless man stirred, his eyes slowly meeting Melania's. A spark of recognition flickered, not of her identity, but of her humanity. Melania's mind raced. She thought of the warm car waiting, of countless similar scenes she'd passed. But tonight was different. The chill carried a challenge she couldn't ignore. With a deep breath, she stepped forward. Her staff exchanged worried glances, caught off guard by this deviation. But determination brooked no argument. This wasn't about politics. It was about human connection. As she approached, the man's eyes widened in surprise. He shifted, uncertain whether to retreat or accept the attention. Melania's heart raced, but her steps remained steady. In that moment, she was simply a woman compelled by compassion to bridge two vastly different worlds. The First Lady stood at a crossroads, her carefully crafted image hanging in the balance. Would she retreat to safety or take a risk that could redefine her legacy? In that moment, Melania Trump made a decision that would challenge everything the public thought they knew about her. With a nod to her security detail, Melania approached the homeless man. The Secret Service agents exchanged worried glances, hands moving closer to their weapons. But Melania's eyes were fixed on the figure huddled against the cold concrete, shivering despite his efforts to stay warm. As she neared, the man's eyes widened in disbelief. Melania's heart raced, but her steps remained steady. She was no longer the First Lady, but simply a woman compelled by compassion to bridge two vastly different worlds. Melania paused, her fingers brushing the collar of her $3,000 Gucci coat. For a moment, doubt flickered across her face. But as she looked at the shivering man, her resolve strengthened. With deliberate movements, Melania removed her coat. The elegant garment slipped from her shoulders, rustling softly. Onlookers gasped, their breath visible in the cold. In the world of politics, where every movement is scrutinized, this simple act spoke volumes. The coat settled around the homeless man's shoulders. His weathered hands clutched the fabric. Disbelief etched across his face. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. Melania's voice broke the silence as she turned to her staff. "Please arrange transportation to the nearest shelter," she said firmly, "and ensure he receives a hot meal and medical attention if needed." The crowd murmured, phones appearing as people realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. A woman wiped away a tear, while a young man stood slack-jawed, his coffee forgotten. The homeless man whispered, "Thank you," his words filled with gratitude. Melania nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. Her security detail moved with purpose. An agent spoke into his wrist microphone, while another approached a nearby police officer. Soon a patrol car arrived, its lights casting a blue glow over the scene. Melania watched as the man was helped to his feet, her coat still draped over him. As he was guided toward the patrol car, she addressed the crowd. "We all have the power to make a difference," she said. "Sometimes it's as simple as seeing the humanity in those around us and taking action, no matter how small." As the patrol car pulled away, applause broke out. Smartphones captured the moment, and within minutes, social media lit up with accounts of what had transpired. In the digital age, privacy is a luxury even First Ladies can't afford. As bystanders' fingers flew across their phones, Melania's personal moment of kindness was about to collide with the unforgiving spotlight of global attention. The quiet street corner, moments ago a scene of unexpected compassion, now buzzed with the energy of a breaking story. The ripple effect was immediate and far-reaching. As the patrol car pulled away with the homeless man, phones across Washington, D.C. began to ping with news alerts. Political journalists scrambled to confirm details, while editors reshuffled priorities, sensing the potential impact of this unexpected act. On social media platforms, the story spread like wildfire. Hashtags trended: Melania's care, by First Lady First, responder, by Be Best in Action. Video clips circulated with grainy footage of Melania draping her coat over the man's shoulders, becoming the most watched clip of the hour. Reactions varied across demographics. In a small diner in Iowa, a waitress recounted the story to her customers, her voice filled with admiration. In a New York City apartment, a cynical advertising executive found himself moved by the raw humanity of the gesture. In a Florida retirement community, residents debated the political implications. As the night wore on, Melania's act of kindness transformed into a national talking point. Pundits speculated on her motivations, supporters lauded her compassion, and critics questioned the timing and sincerity of the gesture. But beneath the noise of political discourse, a quieter, more profound conversation was taking place in living rooms and online forums across the country. People shared their own stories of unexpected kindness, of moments when they had been helped or had helped others. These stories, inspired by Melania's act, created a ripple effect of their own. In the White House, staffers huddled around computer screens, watching the story unfold in real time. The press room hummed with activity as writers and producers prepared for what would undoubtedly be the lead story on every morning show. Across the nation, Americans from all walks of life found themselves drawn into the unfolding narrative, each bringing their own perspective to the conversation. As dawn approached, the incident had sparked a national reflection on compassion, politics, and the power of individual actions. Melania's simple gesture had become a mirror, reflecting the complex tapestry of American society and the enduring impact of human kindness. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the Washington skyline, painting it in hues of pink and gold, a storm was brewing in newsrooms across America. Melania's unexpected act of kindness had ignited a media firestorm, and as the new day dawned, journalists, pundits, and social media influencers were scrambling to shape the narrative. In newsrooms across the country, editors and producers debated headlines and angles. The Washington Post considered First Lady's Midnight Mercy a political ploy or genuine compassion, while Fox News prepared glowing testimonials from homeless shelter workers. MSNBC, in contrast, focused on the administration's policies on affordable housing and social services. Social media exploded with opinions. Twitter users shared memes of Melania as a caped superhero, while others questioned the authenticity of the gesture. Instagram influencers posted heartfelt captions about the power of kindness, carefully crafted to ride the wave of viral content. In the White House, communications staff were in crisis mode. "We need a statement from the First Lady," insisted the communications director, "something that reinforces her commitment to compassion without making it seem like a one-off publicity stunt." Melania, secluded in her private quarters, was lost in thought. She stared out the window, watching the city come to life, her mind replaying the events of the previous night, the feel of the coat sliding from her shoulders, the gratitude in the man's eyes, the warmth that had filled her chest. It all felt so far removed from the media circus unfolding around her. As the morning wore on, political analysts dissected every aspect of the incident. "This could be a turning point for the administration," declared one pundit. "It humanizes them in a way we haven't seen before." Another countered, "But is it enough? One coat doesn't solve systemic issues." In coffee shops and office break rooms across the country, ordinary Americans debated the merits of Melania's actions. "It's just basic human decency," argued a barista in Seattle. "Why are we making such a big deal out of it?" A Wall Street executive disagreed. "It's symbolic. When someone in her position does something like this, it sets an example." As noon approached, the White House press secretary stepped up to the podium, facing a sea of eager reporters. She delivered a statement carefully crafted to strike a balance between humility and pride, emphasizing Melania's commitment to helping those in need and her hope to inspire others. The statement set off another round of analysis and speculation. Political cartoonists had a field day, with one particularly poignant image showing Melania draping her coat over Lady Liberty, who was huddled on a park bench. As the dust settled on the media frenzy, a question lingered. Could a single act of kindness reshape an entire initiative? Melania's team grappled with how to evolve Be Best in the wake of a spontaneous gesture that had captured the nation's heart. The Be Best campaign had always focused on children's well-being, online safety, opioid abuse prevention, and wellness. Now Melania knew its scope needed to expand. She addressed her staff, a mix of seasoned operatives and passionate advocates. "We've been given an opportunity to show that Be Best is about creating a culture of kindness that touches every American," Melania said, her voice filled with determination. The room fell silent. For years, Be Best had been criticized as vague and ineffective. Now they had a chance to redefine it. Sarah Thompson, Melania's chief of staff, raised concerns about balancing this new direction with existing pillars and avoiding the perception of a publicity stunt. Melania proposed creating Be Best in Action, a program encouraging everyday Americans to perform acts of kindness in their communities. Challenges remained. How would they implement this while maintaining the initiative's core focus? How could they measure its impact? Over the next few days, Melania immersed herself in the details. She spoke with homeless shelter directors, community leaders, and inspired citizens. The team worked tirelessly, revising talking points and crafting a new narrative. They reached out to grassroots organizations for partnerships and input. As her first public address approached, anticipation built. The media speculated about how she would address the moment that had captured the nation's attention. The night before the speech, Melania stood alone in the White House residence, reflecting. She thought about the man she had helped and the millions of Americans struggling with homelessness, poverty, and isolation. She contemplated the power of a simple act of kindness to change a life. In that moment, Melania understood that "be best" was now a call to action, challenging every American to make a difference in others' lives. As she prepared to step onto the national stage, she felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever before. As the dust settled on Melania's unexpected act of kindness, the nation grappled with a new conversation about homelessness and systemic issues. In the weeks that followed, stories of everyday heroes inspired by the First Lady's actions surfaced. A coat drive in Seattle and free meals in Chicago, while heartwarming, raised the question, could personal charity alone solve deep-rooted problems? Dr. Emily Ramirez, a sociologist specializing in urban poverty, offered a sobering perspective. High-profile acts of generosity can inspire others, but they don't address the underlying causes of homelessness, as she explained. We need comprehensive policy changes that tackle affordable housing, mental health services, and job training programs. Determined to channel the momentum into concrete action, Melania convened a task force to develop policy proposals focused on affordable housing, mental health and addiction services, and job training programs. However, the path from good intentions to effective policy proved challenging. Local governments balked at costs, while some conservative politicians worried about enabling dependency. On a crisp autumn morning, Melania visited a job training center in Detroit, listening intently as participants shared their stories of struggle and hope. We're not just teaching skill, the program director explained, we're rebuilding lives. In Boston, a coalition of business leaders partnered with local nonprofits to launch a pilot program combining job training with temporary housing. After 6 months, 70% of participants had secured stable employment and housing. Dr. James Chen, an economist studying the program, noted, we're seeing the power of combining individual compassion with systemic solutions. Creating pathways out of poverty requires more than temporary aid. Melania remained committed to the cause, using her platform to highlight success stories and push for policy changes. In a speech to the National Governors Association, she challenged state leaders to prioritize homelessness in their agendas. We have seen what is possible when we open our hearts, she said. Now we must open our minds to new solutions and our wallets to fund them. The true test of Melania's transformation and its impact on society was still unfolding. While some dismissed her efforts as a publicity stunt, others saw a genuine shift in both her priorities and the national conversation. The debate her actions had sparked, about the balance between individual charity and systemic change, about the role of public figures in addressing social issues, continued to shape discussions across the country, from community centers to legislative chambers. As Melania Trump's act of kindness faded from headlines, its impact lingered, sparking a nationwide conversation about individual actions addressing systemic issues. In coffee shops and boardrooms, people shared stories of small kindnesses, each act a testament to the contagious nature of compassion. The narrative shifted from political divide to human connection, reminding everyone of our shared capacity for empathy. The ripple effects continued, challenging preconceptions and inspiring others to look beyond their comfort zones. For many, it served as a call to action, a reminder that opportunities to make a difference exist in every community, every day. The challenge now lay not in grand gestures, but in the courage to see the need around us and respond with open hearts, just as Melania had done on that fateful night in Washington, D.C.